Very often, excellence maturity is discussed and talked about without understanding its true meaning. In the context of the digital era, where there is the need for constant transformation, radical change, and even the introduction of disruptive thinking that de facto disrupts the organization, from the point of view of the systems it depends on, from the point of view of the capabilities it has been used to deploy, from the point of view of its ecosystem, and also from the point of view of its purpose and pledges made to its various stakeholders. So with all the dynamicity that exists and all the change within the organization and externally, we can no longer continue to present excellence, maturity in a linear fashion and by fooling ourselves that we are in total control of what goes on inside the organization and externally, and we make decisions with this end in mind to achieve world class. In the context of the UAE government excellence model, for instance, the path to super excellence or superior performance is not to close an excellence gap that needs to be filled by climbing the steps from initiator to implementer to impactor to integrator level and ultimately to dominant or innovator level. The excellence gap is not what is the end goal, but the excellence continuity, the excellence maturity, the excellence momentum is the real requirement. So climbing the steps is a futile exercise. The linear momentum seeking is also a waste of time. The super excellence levels are those that guide the organization with transformational thinking, with a constant revisiting of what is relevant, what makes sense, what is desirable, what has changed. The raising expectation of stakeholders is a reality. Competitiveness is a reality. Changes in value propositions, in differentiations, in technology as an infrastructure, in knowledge thinking, and so on and so forth. So it's an elusive process, but one that changes the management of excellence from a linear, predictable path to perhaps one that is dynamic, one that is propelled by constant reevaluation, constant change, constant innovation, and guiding the organization so that it can maintain its course, it can somehow make the big leaps expected from its leadership, and it can impact at a high level. So that is the real challenge. The scoring is also relative. The scoring is gauging maturity against a set of criteria. The criteria will change in time as more and more sophistication is introduced within organizations and more understanding as to what makes a basic level, what makes a satisfactory level, what makes an excellent level of performance, of capability deployment becomes evident. We remember the days when quality was a goal, not the license to practice, where organizations used to put strategic objectives in order to implement quality, in order to achieve a decent quality standard. The realization now is that quality has to represent the starting point, the fundamental blocks that give the organization a solid foundation for aspiring, for visioning, for stretching, and for managing an impact at a competitive level and sustaining their path towards excellence. The new approach to excellence maturity building is really based on the fundamentals that are required for the next step. In other words, the goals of an initiator organization are to achieve in order to put the foundation. And then the following level of maturity is to achieve but raise the level of fundamentals for competitiveness. And the cycle repeats itself. And as an organization builds more and more excellence maturity, it will be tested to the limit and it will have what it takes to drive performance at a decent standard and continue to aim for the achievement of a leading position. So the continuum of excellence through transformation and disruption is an open-ended mindset. It is not linear and predictable and controllable from within the organization. It will use these different mindsets at different stages, starting with improvement, with incremental enhancements and nudging, moving to driving with innovation and transformation and making the bigger leaps in performance. And once the leadership position and the dominant position is attainable, then leading will require disruptive thinking. Being a leader means a leader of thought, a leader of differentiation, a leader of distinctive capabilities, and a leader of unique value proposition. So perhaps the right language for excellence maturity using the government excellence model is being able to create the foundation through inspiration and initiating the path of excellence, implementing in the core and support areas, and generating an impact through ensuring that the improvement and the optimization takes place, then accelerating the pace of the momentum, the positive momentum through impulsion and through transformation or invigoration, and measuring at a higher impact, which is more towards effectiveness, achieving stretch targets, but also starting to measure up against the toughest standards. And super excellence starts at the fourth level, which is the integrators level, and that level is about integration and ensuring that the gains are maintained, making sure that the human capital is deployed in the right way. Engagement is what delivers innovation. Innovation is what fuels the momentum, also what guides the capabilities so that the impact is generated at a competitive level. And this level of intensification and acceleration generates again a different level of impact, a competitive impact, measuring up, achieving against the toughest standards, being in the top tier, being number one, being number 5. And that is what the leading position is about, and this is where innovators start to reinvent, to reimagine, to revamp, to relaunch, and to guide not just their organization, but to guide a whole sector, a whole economy as well. So ideation becomes the starting point by exploring opportunities, by gazing at what the future has to offer and being leaders in introducing new thinking, novel ideas. And innovation becomes the currency at this level, and again the impact that is generated and required to be measured is one of superiority, is pace-making at a different level so that everybody else will follow the role model behaviors and also the leading standards. So the starting point of this excellence continuum and excellence maturity building, using the momentum characterized by the digital age, is to start with the fundamentals. What used to be the end is now only the foundation. So the plan, do, study, act phenomenon of continuous improvement, of Kaizen, is only to introduce quality as the foundation. It's a prerequisite and it's the license to practice. The next level is the solidity of the organization to realize its vision by focusing on core and critical functions, and by deploying its strategy through well-designed KPIs, by being horizontally focused on the primary stakeholders and delivering value consistently, reliably, and with dependability in mind, and using agility to respond with flexibility to changes in customer needs, but also using smart technology to ensure that value creation is not a push phenomenon, but rather is one where the recipients are also engaged for their journey, their unique and personalized experiences, using, for example, the phenomenon of co-creation. The higher level where innovation starts to take over and drive the momentum of excellence through regular transformational thinking is to provide the big gains and close the gaps against the toughest standards, but making sure that innovation is not a bolt-on activity, but it has its full meaning to drive strategy and to reshape the organization so that it remains relevant and it serves a purpose where the needs and expectations of stakeholders are a moving target. And the higher level of this disruptive behavior, this excellence maturity measurement, which is non-linear, is that to sustain a leading position, organizations are required to use disruption for continuing to accelerate their excellence gains, using innovation as the fuel and driving transformation again at a higher level. The dual track that can be thought through as the means by which super excellence can be achieved and a leading position in government particularly can be achieved is to develop and deploy the means by gradually moving away from using existing resources for supporting existing and predictable operations to the deployment of a level of support that addresses the core capabilities and that builds strong, reliable, dependable capabilities that can provide a competitive advantage and this is to a level where value can be created through innovative thinking, through unique and distinctive capabilities, and through the use of what we call innovation from an open-end perspective, by leveraging, by connecting, and by partnering with stakeholders, but also with other partners. And the higher level of deploying the means is to explore future possibilities by shaping the future of value creation through the constant acquisition of pioneering thinking, but also through the ability of the organization to work more on getting dynamic capabilities, the new capabilities that are reflective of the digital age requirements, and ones that do not need to be built within house, but perhaps leveraged through smart partnerships and through being an ecosystem that is open, that allows clever thinking to permeate, and one where partnerships becomes fundamentally important. Likewise, what will shadow the means and their deployment is the delivery of outcomes, measuring efficiency and effectiveness. Now is not the end, it's only the start of the journey. Measurement has to be more sophisticated, so we measure capabilities in the core and critical areas through optimization, through the philosophy of lean, by making sure that there is consistency, reliability, dependability, and customers or stakeholders are happy and they trust the providing source. And the higher level of this outcome measurement is to look at value-based outcomes with customization and personalization, so making services, for instance, unique, crafted in a personalized way with co-creation, for example, mapping the journeys that are changing all the time, managing expectation, and being brave and able to look at customers' journeys from a connected, and ensuring that the customer voice is the main voice for designing, developing future services, and providing unique and memorable experiences that really can impact happiness. And the last aspect of this measurement is to use the disruptive power to impact at a superior level, to use transformational thinking as the means to the end, and to measure the competitive impact, the innovative impact, the pioneering thinking impact, and ultimately the customer happiness impact. So putting it all together, distinctive capabilities. In a nutshell, the path towards a leading position and building excellence maturity in the digital age is building maturity of excellence of a different kind. The reliance on the means or the capabilities for delivering value and sustaining the organization in the long term has to be done through disruptive means, and also the measurement aspects of the mileage that an organization achieves and the momentum that it creates must also be measured through disruptive means. And in the end, it is two goals. One is to create distinctiveness and differentiation in the know-how, in the capabilities. And the other one is to achieve superior level of performance. It is impossible to achieve higher levels of performance by deploying the main means time and time again without disruption, without transformation, without change. The relevance of an organization is short life cycle. It the advantage that an organization creates shrinks in a digital age, and the relevance has also got to be redefined. This has implications, of course, on how we measure, what we measure, whether the measurement serves the due purpose, and whether we can impact at the highest level. The pursuit of excellence in the digital age is perhaps an elusive goal, but one that is worth pursuing.